Okay,
We're good to go.
so I got your minutes. And I wanted to ask you,
Okay.
how many people are there on this commission that are full members?
Well,
Is
voting
it
members, let's see, it is, it's a little bit broke.
Okay. I tried to go online and figure it out, and I couldn't find a list of.
I thought it was 7.
Okay,
Was there somebody missing last week? Or last time? It's. No, yeah, it's 7, and then, Philip,
is he an alternate?
he's an alternate.
That's what I was thinking. Okay,
Yeah. Yep,
and isn't there a second alternate?
if there is, I'm unaware of who it is, and they have not
Okay.
been to a meeting, to the best of my knowledge.
Well, there was a guy at the last meeting.
That was Philip, right?
Was that Philip?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's another one that was listed on the, Captain Perk's distribution list. And it was,
Yeah, I don't know this.
Jason Flannery. I don't-
No, he's a sergeant here.
Oh,
not on the family.
okay.
No,
Okay.
he just, because he ends up doing a lot of the, like work of pulling,
Yes,
like if something needs to be measured, if something needs to be whatever, he's usually the one that ends up coordinating that, like
got it.
Greg will say, hey, Jason, do this, you know,
Okay.
so,
Okay,
yeah, so
So-
he's not on the board, he is our traffic.
yeah, he's part of the staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to break this down
Right,
so that I knew,
like, if
Because
people are
there's-
voting, who
yeah.
they are,
There's a woman who came several meetings ago, and apparently there's a relationship where she comes to our meetings from a different group.
yeah, that's
And then-
Jamie Hasselmeyer, she's in charge of the, sustainability.
That's it.
Yeah.
Jamie, say it again, Hasselmeyer?
Hasselmeyer, and I think I'm gonna spell this right, Hassameier.
And that's the sustainability.
Mhm. Yeah,
So she may or may not be here.
right.
Doesn't matter. right?
It makes
She's not
sense,
voting
she's
member.
not a voting member, she's literally just like a member, you know,
Okay.
a member of the public who wants to come and be, whatever.
So this, and Philip is an alternate, did I
Yeah.
say that? Yeah. I said
Yeah.
alternate. So I've got Ann, Carey, Clark. David Franklin is a member, but he's not a
He doesn't
voting
vote.
member. Non-voting.
He's just the,
Yeah,
Council
Council
liaison.
rep, right.
Yeah.
Robert Fox, myself, Steve Rosicki,
Yeah.
and Susan Son.
that's who I am,
Congress.
that should be your seven
1,
voting
2,
member.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, and myself would be, oh, no, I'm on here,
Yeah.
7. Okay, got it,
Yep,
got it, thank you, that's helpful.
okay, good,
'Cause I knew this gal from the sustainability, but I didn't know.
Right.
if I missed her name or whatever. Apparently I
yeah,
did.
she doesn't, she's not a voting member, so.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Okay,
Um,
not familiar, have you been here before?
Yes, sometimes.
Okay.
Ellen Newman.
Yes,
Hi,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Hey, you're on time.
I know, I couldn't believe it. You won't believe how I got here.
You run?
No, I was, sort of long story, but I was downtown at federal courtroom. And my wife works down there, so, you know, I thought it was gonna run long. Like I said, met her in her garage. And it's perfect.
Cool.
I thought it was gonna be like half an hour late. Now I'm like the first one here. Hey, Clark. Hey, hi. How are you, man? How are you? Hey, Ellen.
Hi.
How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. Good Thanksgiving.
Yes, it was great. Did John pay that we saw him at the restaurant?
So how you been?
Yeah, good.
Were you traveling?
I see, yeah, we just got back in late last night from Phoenix.
Okay.
We have our middle daughter lives out there.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, so we got in about 10:30,
It's hard to find a good drink.
so it was kind of a crazy day today. but-
Yeah, nice. Nice. Going to New York. So that's a good time to go. Thursday.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
in February, whatever they call
Well,
it.
actually, we go in February for 3 weeks.
Oh, nice.
But we drive, so we take about 4 days, 3 or 4 days getting out there and 3 or 4 days coming back. So it winds up being a month.
Well, my two sons, one just took a
He's in Connecticut or wherever it was.
And well, Amira's in upstate New York. That's
His big
where he met
house.
his wife.
Okay.
Oh, no, I don't know about a house. That must be different.
It's up there somewhere. And I don't know if it's, I think it's a museum or something, but he didn't have the money to pay for it because he was terrible with money and.
Yeah.
It's really sad he went.
Well, no, we're all Mark Twain fans. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I
The
did
burial
think,
site is really sad. So the cemetery on Iowa, there's a lot of tragedy in the family, so just go to the burial site and reading markers and stuff.
Mark
like that.
Twain?
Yeah, just
Oh,
really
really?
sad. Yeah.
somebody he was very, very close to, died young and broke his heart.
Yeah, yes.
It's a beautiful site.
In Elmira, so that's just, it's upstate, up there where the Finger Lakes are, near Watkins Glen, so it's just west of Ithaca.
Oh,
Yeah.
I need to do a
It's
post.
still there, Ithaca.
I've only been to, Lake Placid, is that where that movie was set with the crocodile that eats people? Lake Placid,
Like classic.
that's the only one I've been to. Yeah, is that?
The need.
That it's gonna outlive
Which
me,
is-
but I really just tempted.
In New York or is it Lake Geneva?
Yeah. Yeah. Is that where his?
No, my sister.
Yeah.
Lived there for a while.
But he was, so his his first job was in Virginia City. He got a job for the paper there. You remember the name of the paper? I don't. And I think he stayed there about 2 or 3 years.
So there was Bonanza on.
Yeah.
Virginia City. And I'm like, is that the same Virginia City? I said, I don't think so.
Well, yeah, it was all lore, but I asked somebody about that. And they said, yeah, everybody asks us about Bonanza.
And they had that big, they don't call it a tunnel, but
I just assumed that, I knew they went out to Oregon every year. That was.
Whatever, do some line.
Did you go, did you take a?
No, he was, my son is a geologist, so he was
Yeah.
telling us.
Yeah, but how it
Stuff
works.
that was way over my head.
Yeah. Well, that was the neat thing in that museum was the layout of the shafts.
Right.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. Yeah.
What museum?
Up in Virginia City in Nevada, near
Okay.
Reno. And so they, well, his first job, I think his first job was there for the newspaper.
So do you say Nevada?
Yeah, I do.
I do too,
Yeah.
and they all looked at me, that Nevada. Well, not if I think so.
Yeah.
It's like.
Yeah, I'm getting nervous. We don't have a quorum and it's after 5:30.
We'll be happy.
Yeah.
Back home.
So I'll tell you what, well, 5 more minutes,
How many do we need for a call?
half.
Yeah.
And there's 4 of us. And
Yeah, Chris, can you hear me? You need 4 of the 7.
Yeah.
You there?
Okay, Not 4.
You need 4 of the 7.
Okay.
We have four, no, we have four.
And isn't David also, no?
He doesn't vote, he doesn't count either.
That's right, it doesn't count. That's right. So,
But-
Maria.
Kirk says-
Did ride against by-
Okay.
okay, we're gonna get some stuff done.
Got my papers printed.
Okay.
I don't know if the batteries are dead.
Yeah, thanks for asking, I didn't see that.
Are you asking? Yeah, I'm good.
Share your
Okay.
papers.
You got a whole museum though.
So I would like to call a meeting to order. And the first thing we want to do is take attendance. And it is Susan
And
and, why did I see that? Okay, thank you.
I was reviewing names before I came, not gonna lie.
Clark, David, I guess, is not, well, is he here?
I'm here.
Oh, he is here. Okay, great. Thank you. And Jeff Parks, Steve, Clark.
Yes.
That's it. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is review the minutes. Do you
Or no,
have,
that's.
do you have copies?
I looked at them, but I'm not.
I can pull mine up online, but I didn't print them.
Okay. The only reason I'm asking, I've got several, but they're very picky, very nitpicky. So,
Yeah, they're probably already corrected.
oh,
Right, go ahead,
okay,
see if they're.
so, one of them, of course, is, it's, David
David
Franklin, right, I got that. Now, I know that this organization was at one time considered a board and is now officially a commission, I believe. But we refer to it as a board repeatedly. Should we change that to commission?
I was under the impression that overall it's a commission, but members collectively make up a board. I don't know if that's correct or not.
Could we follow up on that? Because I'm,
Sure, I'm not,
okay. Again, I'm not
right,
trying to
no,
pay the
yeah,
opinion,
no, yeah.
but it distracts me when I see it. On the page, which I guess would be page 4.
Did you catch Karen?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, sorry,
No, she just did.
so yeah. I mean, sorry,
Where it says crash data at South Elm and Swan, and then site distance should be study, I think.
yeah, it's already.
Okay, you've
fixed.
got that.
Yeah,
Above that, it says. Captain Hertz will check with Public Works to see when South Elm will be restriped. Is that? Does
Sorry.
that mean
That has been completed.
that's not completed.
it has been
It's-
restriped?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is repave?
Yes.
Or no?
No, repaving is a separate topic. They won't repave it. Restriping was completed.
Okay. Can you give me a little context on that? Because I wasn't here for that part, apparently. Was the question that it could be restriped differently? And that's why the question came up, or that it needed to be restriped?
It needed to be.
Okay.
Yes, Chris, it needed to be restriped.
It
Can
did
can
have-
you all, yeah, can you all hear me?
Yeah,
Mhm, yeah.
yeah. very
Okay,
well.
good. Okay, good. Let me turn my video on. Hold on one second. There we go. Yes, it needed to be restriped based off the construction that MSD was doing with the pipes and all that. And so when they did the construction on there, it needed to be restriped so all the double yellow lines and the fire department lanes and that could be redone. And so that was a big issue, but the repaving of it, that's a separate issue because it didn't need to be repaved. It was just repaved a few years ago. But with the construction that came up, it needed to be restriped after the construction.
Got it. All right, thank you. All right, so that's done.
While we're on that though, so I have concerns from neighbors why I'm voicing this. So it's just dual colored, it's just two colored. Are we just having that for South Elm will just be two colors until they repave the whole thing at some point in the future?
Yes,
The pavement is two colors, you mean?
Yeah.
Half the
Yes.
road's like brown and half is black?
Oh,
yes. So where that comes from is that asphalt comes, the color of the paving comes from different portions in the quarry. So whatever portion of the quarry that they use to utilize to make the asphalt, it creates a color. And so it's going to be two different colors until Elm is repaved again in the future.
Okay,
okay.
I know unhappy residents. I don't really care about that. There's some unhappy people about that.
It really ages pretty fast, though.
Does it?
Yes, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But it comes down to the rock color as they get it out of the quarry that creates the asphalt.
I never knew that.
Okay, anybody else have any thoughts about the last? Carrie, did you have anything?
No, I didn't. Are we going meeting minutes? Is that what we're going through? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's all I have. Need a motion to accept,
Motion to accept.
Second.
second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, good. Before we go and get into the serious business. Oh, no, I wanted to invite our guests to, if there were any statements that you want to make or issues you want to bring up, this is your chance.
Is that also in the old business? Is that right there here? I think you talk about
Yes.
North Elm.
Oh, okay, so we can move on from that. All right, great, thank you. So just very quickly, David Franklin at our last meeting brought up the point that the city council was going to ask each commission to provide an understanding of what they do.
Mm.
Well, shortly after that meeting, I got a message from Captain Perks that I was asked to come and before the city council
Mhm.
and make that statement. So I put together, and by the way, Clark was there, so
Is this the one we watched? That's what you're talking about, yeah.
yeah. So if you would pass these down your side. And these on your side. So this was basically what I handed out to the city council. And then we talked through these quickly, and I don't want to dwell on this because this is kind of past history now. I'm sharing it with you because you, members of the commission were not aware of that this had come to me, and I just did it. The one thing I do want to point out was that where there was some conversation was this idea of complete streets. And I will tell you that the mayor was pretty positive on that this would be something that would be appropriate for Webster Groves and pretty enthusiastic about it. Now I was unable to attend the meeting last Monday, I think it was, with the film, but I did watch the film the next evening. I realized I had missed the meeting and I brought it up on the internet, and I was impressed. And I'm told that the mayor was at that meeting as well.
Yeah.
So any sense of how that went?
Well, it was a TrailNet hosted
Right.
in conjunction with Webster University. It was a regional meeting, so it wasn't just for Webster. It
Oh.
was just to show that film and have a panel discussion. One of the professors at
Okay.
Webster U was interested.
Okay,
And so the film is called The Street Project. It's on YouTube, so anybody can
Yeah.
watch it. And it's about 50 minutes long, I think. But it's interesting because it just talks about a little bit of different perspective of maybe what streets could be for or what they're
right,
for. And there's a lot of discussion about safety for cyclists and pedestrians and neighbors.
right,
But there's also discussion about perhaps, reclaiming some of that area that we have dedicated for cars for community and what that might look like. So they went through different things. So I think it was good. I mean, it's one point of view, one
Yeah.
perspective. There was a really good panel discussion. There was a woman whose sister was killed by a hit and run driver as a pedestrian. But there are a lot of things to make you think. And as I walk around Webster, I think, that's the case here. So there might be a segment about how there's no crosswalk for a mile. And people are getting jaywalking tickets, risking their lives crossing the street, but there's no crosswalk. So those kinds of things to think about as we look at our streets. So
Ironically, my wife and I we just got back in last night from Phoenix. Our daughter lives there. Phoenix was cited in that film as an example of a town where you have 4 lanes of traffic going, 2 lanes in each direction, and the speed limits are so high. And the turns are so far apart. You can't cross the street safely
Yeah,
unless you want to walk a mile
same.
down to the end of the street and cross and then back. It is crazy out there.
So I'd recommend, I mean, if you have time to watch it, I think it's
Yeah.
good. I think Phoenix and New York, I think sometimes we get in the mind that, well, this is a big city problem, but I think a lot of the things translate to
Right.
smaller.
Well, so
towns, so.
my impression from this session was that there was positive feeling that we should proceed with something along those lines. And I think later on in the agenda, we're gonna talk a little bit about that, so. Okay. So I'm up to old business, and the first thing that I saw from the minutes from the last meeting, the first thing we need to talk about is this idea of calming the traffic on North Elm. So I think from my notes, Carrie, that was something that you were,
Yeah, I lost track of that. I don't know if there's a way we can keep a running action item list or something, because if we don't see the minutes until
I
our
am-
next meeting.
I am glad you said that.
Yeah, minutes aren't there for an action item list, like that's
Yeah,
you guys' responsibility to put your, to put that together, if you have things that.
Can we,
the
is there
minutes
somewhere
are-
we can just, do we just keep it
Google.
on?
You guys can do a shared Google
Google
Doc,
Doc?
is what
Okay.
some other commissions do and boards do, so.
And I apologize, I just lost track of that.
so is that something that you would want me to try and do, set up?
No, I can easily, I've got the information to easily do that.
To
I
make,
just-
I'm talking about to make the,
Oh, Google Doc, yeah,
Google
no,
Doc.
please, or the, yeah,
that's what I was talking
I
about.
was
Okay.
talking about I'm supposed to draft a proposal.
So,
for North
so this is kind of my action item is to figure out this Google Doc thing.
Oh.
So that every time we have one of these meetings, I can put that together and with the action items and get it out to you quickly so that these things can move along. I was in exactly the same place as you were.
Okay,
Hey,
Nothing
hey,
we
Chris,
Yeah,
Chris, just to remind you that anything that we create as a committee, anything that we do in this Google Doc, whatever, if you make this, it's public, it's requestable and it's sunshineable and anybody
Yeah.
has record of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's
no,
good.
that's awesome.
Okay,
But apparently other commissions have done this.
yes, yes.
So
I just
so
want you to
have-
make sure that if we're gonna do that, you have to make sure that it's public accessible because it's gonna be, anybody can request that at any time then.
Okay, but is there a control over who can
Mhm.
contribute to it?
Yes.
No, on a Google Doc, no, it's completely open. And if you make it open to the commission members, they can amend it. They can do anything they want to.
So
it.
I wanted to
but-
be open to the commission members, but it would be inappropriate for a non-member to go in and change it. You
No,
can
we-
look at it.
Agreed. Yeah,
Off limits.
yes, you can make it restricted to that, but anybody who requests it would have to get it based off of whatever date or time they requested it for, the information that is there. So just to make you aware of that.
So that's a heads up, yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
So Chris,
Okay.
it seems like we should find out who's doing it.
yeah.
And instead of you trying to recreate the wheel, find
That's
out what they're
right.
doing.
We should find that out. And also I do trainings on Google Docs and Google Drive and things
Oh.
at work, so I can help with
Okay,
the view restrictions and
Okay.
who can access it, who's edit, who's view only.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good to do for me, because that, to keep, because I was in the same boat. I looked at all this stuff and I'm like, where are we with all this?
And it's
Okay.
not like we're paid. So, where am I finding the time?
So do we want to talk further about that topic, about North
Would you
Elm?
guys like to say something while you're here? We discussed last time, our idea is I'm supposed to draft a proposal for the city to, I guess our recommendation can be that the city investigate a road diet from 4 to 3 lanes. And I think we were gonna discuss that and approve that recommendation and then forward it on, figure out what our mechanism is to forward that on to the council for consideration. And I don't know how it works from there, but I guess this is gonna be where we find out.
You're gonna look into putting a traffic counter thing on on Elm, south of.
That
Lockwood.
data, I think, is
Oh,
available to
south
us.
Block.
Because you did one north of Lockwood.
Yeah, I don't know if we did one south of Lockwood. Did we?
I
request
remember that was mentioned.
that? Oh, we did request that. I don't know.
Do we have it?
That's a good question.
I did think we were gonna do. Captain Perks, do you remember that?
can you say it again?
I thought the chief came back and said we can't
Okay.
do this in every.
Oh, yeah, he didn't like all my,
Yeah, who asked the question? I'm sorry, I forgive
The
me.
question is, did we request a traffic count south of Lockwood?
On Elm.
On South Elm.
Yes.
Yes, so and the chief and I have concurred on this, and we agree on it, that if the commission would like a specific request, we would put forward the effort to do it. But to just have a single member of the commission come out and ask for data, it's taxing on public works, it's taxing on the police department to put all those statistical data, to put that work out there to do it. So if we had a specific reason of why we are looking for data, what we were wanting to accomplish from the data gathered, we would put public works, we would put the police department out and to gather that data, because it is taxing. It's a lot of work to do those traffic studies, et cetera.
Okay,
I think why we wanted to do it was to see if South Elm had the same kind of traffic flow with 2 lanes that North Elm has with 4 lanes. I mean, I think that was the
Wanting to compare the two, like the traffic study we did with North Elm.
right.
Yeah, just
Okay.
ADT volumes, yeah,
Yeah, just volumes. Okay.
right.
So if the commission would want to do that, then yes, if they came to collaboration together and said, yes, we want to know what South Elm between, say, Lockwood and Big Bend, what the traffic volume there was, then yes, we would do that kind of work, because it does take work to put our public works department to do that.
Did we get speeds for North Elm?
Yeah.
We
Yes.
did, so yeah,
Yes.
I think speeds and volumes would
Mhm.
probably be good.
And it would seem more valuable to do it closer to Lockwood than Big Bend,
Yeah,
north of
I
Salon.
agree.
North of Swan,
Yeah.
yeah, it should be,
Well, but if the data is already available.
Right. It
For
is
a
what it
for a
is.
big, yeah, it is what it is.
Well, and one thing I want to say is the traffic volume's not going to differ between north of Swan, north of Cedar to Lockwood versus Big Bend to Lockwood, because the cars that are coming north and south on Lockwood, on Elm, sorry, between those two are going to be the cars that are going to be there. So studying north of Swan, north of Cedar, it does, to me, doesn't seem differentiating between all of the
Okay.
traffic volume on Elm Avenue between Lockwood and Big Bend.
So you're saying the difference would be insignificant.
Correct, because all the cars that are coming from Big Bend north are going to be coming Swan north. That it's an insignificant amount of cars that are on Swan or on Cedar turning onto Elm versus the cars that are coming from Big Bend and Elm north to Lockwood and Elm.
Okay,
And I might be agreeing with what you're saying, but I want to confirm. So I think what we said last meeting was that we wanted to determine how many cars were turning off of Elm onto Lockwood before going from North Elm, before going to South Elm. I think that's why we wanted to do the counting and the speeding
Yeah.
on South Elm as well as North Elm.
Okay, but that again, I think, is that Ann that was talking?
Yes,
If I correct-
yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and
Oh.
correct. And so what you're talking about there is the traffic that is coming south on Elm at Lockwood and then turning right onto Lockwood versus continuing south onto Elm onto Elm.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
that
right
correct?
or left onto Lockwood. Yes, yes.
Yeah, and so, okay, we can study that, but you'll see that it's significantly, most of the cars are continuing south. They're not turning left or right.
Okay.
okay.
And actually, I was gonna say, I want to get everyone's titles right. Oh, Chief Curtis, we had a nice exchange off of the whole thread. And I pushed back very politely about my request, but his main point, I think, was just that it sounded like it was coming solely from me, and we want to make sure it's not just some.
And I think
member.
that's a fair,
Right, right. I didn't
Fair
mean to jump the
request.
gun, but I like to,
Let's get it done.
road commission.
that's me, just get it done. Come on. Yeah, but anyway, so he was supportive, although it does take a lot of their effort and time.
so here's my thinking on this. I'm just sharing, I'm not talking as the chair, I'm just one of the members. That's a big street in Webster Groves. I mean, a lot of
Mhm.
people think of that as a thoroughfare.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to affect, could affect a lot of people. Knowing that, I think it would be best to have this data to know if it's an issue or not. So based on that, I would suggest we request the data.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't want to make the motion, so anybody,
Yeah, I'll
It-
make the motion.
Yeah, and do you know exactly which data we're looking for?
North and south on Elm, south of Lockwood. I mean, and I personally, I would choose that because I'm on Elm a lot, and a lot of people turn on and off on Jackson, Swan, and Cedar. So
Mhm.
the closer to Lockwood, unless it's pre-existing, I don't know why we wouldn't request it closer to Lockwood. So,
So you're,
so my motion is for volume
in speed,
and speed, yeah, north and southbound.
Second,
second, okay,
on that stretch of Elm,
right.
yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
All right, hey, Chris, just to verify, so I know where we're coming from this. Closer to Lockwood, are you wanting between Swan and Elm or Cedar and Elm? Because I need to know that.
Swan and Lockwood, you mean?
Or, yeah, it's Lockwood. Sorry, I'm sorry, Carrie. Thank you.
That's okay.
Or Ann.
You can't see me, sorry, I'm,
Sorry. Yeah, the
Yeah.
camera's crooked. I can't see everybody.
I know.
And let me turn my camera on here because I can't see everybody. So I'm
Just
sorry.
between Swan and Lockwood.
I got a nice
Yeah.
sling going on here. My arms kind of,
Cedar.
oh, and
Firehouse.
Oh, okay.
Greg, Carrie and I talked, and I think we would both ask for between Swan and Cedar. On
Swan and between Swan and Cedar, because that's the key.
Yeah.
That because any car that's going, okay, I would
Yeah.
agree with you on that. Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
I would agree on between Swan and Cedar because
Yeah.
that's going to give you the correct volume amount.
Yeah, good.
So yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
And on this item, so when I think about it, is we look what we're gonna recommend, somehow having some sort of model with what we have in mind at the intersections. Like when I think of it, the north end of North Elm, it seems to me there's a lot of lanes there.
Right,
And so if we have a suggestion, how many turn lanes, what are we recommending?
okay.
So I don't think we have to build a model, but if we have some idea about how far those things extend.
And I would be in there. My thought is that the existing lanes at the intersections are still there. It's being you flare, just like you would, like
Mhm.
anywhere else you flare out, you add those turn bays.
Yeah.
We would just do that, but in between, it would just be those 3 lanes.
Yeah.
And then you'd get to the intersections and you'd add the turn lanes exactly like they are now.
Mhm.
I don't think we'll get permission to do it any other way.
Yeah.
But then in between, you have 3
It's
lanes.
really not about controlling the volume. There's always gonna be a lot of going
Yes.
on.
Yeah,
It's the speed of
Yes.
the car,
Yeah.
so.
and if there's
You know,
only one lane,
I don't like it. It's not it, I think.
Yeah.
Our problem is the racing
Yes.
of the 2 lanes, so.
And that's because there's just so much additional
and would-
space there that
Yes.
people feel that
Right, so we
They're-
have the network problems.
it's free to drive as fast as they want.
Would that center lane be turns like where their driveways are?
Yes, it would,
But past that all the way down to
That's what I
Kirkland,
wonder too.
would that be striped? So it doesn't look like it's a passing lane?
it would be
Yeah,
striped
yeah.
like a normal third, so there's 2 solid lines and then dashed lines in the
Yeah,
middle. So it's not a passing lane.
and it's also has periodically has arrows pointing.
Right, it's got the 2
Yeah.
turns. I mean,
So
if people, I don't see too many people use those as passing lanes, but if they are, that's illegal.
Well, I know it's illegal, but
It's also illegal. but-
I'm just wondering how
Yeah.
much will the striping say, don't drive here? You know, because you wouldn't have it turning all the way up where there aren't. I wouldn't think.
I think those middle passing or middle turning lanes are familiar enough to us in St. Louis. We
Right.
see them everywhere.
Like on Big Bend,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did that road diet right on
Right,
Big
and nobody
Bend.
passes it. I
But they
haven't
have
seen
lots of
anybody.
places to turn,
Mhm.
is
Right.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Here, there aren't as many. There's,
Yeah.
you know, there's only, there's Marshall,
cross streets,
there's only
yeah.
2 cross streets, I guess.
Can I ask how many turn lanes are there on northbound Elm at Kirkland? Is it 1 to turn right or 2 to turn?
2.
It's 2.
Yeah.
So my concern is, so that means we have 2 lanes right turn going into that. And we
Yes.
have to back that up some distance.
Mhm.
I don't know where the residences start. So I
mean,
don't know.
there.
So we're not helping you. We're not leaving you a shoulder. There's not enough lanes to leave them a shoulder lane.
But we should be slowing traffic down, like the people.
Well, yeah,
pulling
but that's what we
into
have to,
that
because
area.
part of what the argument for doing this was giving the because we were talking about putting that lane on the resident side.
That's what
But
I
if we're not
was-
accomplishing that, that's why I need to see something.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's, and my concern is you guys,
I
like
don't have an
having,
issue coming out my driveway and turning right. That's not an issue.
what about
in
pulling into
general.
your driveway?
The problem is when they're coming down that hill so
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
That I don't even have enough time, like a reasonable amount of time, and especially when my kids were young.
Yeah.
It's the speed and the buses are heading home and everything's
Yeah.
coming too fast to
Yeah.
get out. there's always a big enough gap to do it. It's a matter of the timing and the speed that the people are coming down the hill. There's no
And I don't think-
margin for error.
We'll get to make that decision in the end. We'll recommend that they look
Yeah.
into narrowing it, but
Yeah.
staff will make the decision on how exactly that gets engineered.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
But there's an issue going south too,
yes.
when you make that turn from.
Yeah.
Kirkham onto Elm.
Yeah.
Cause I'm the next driveway.
Yeah.
And
Right.
people
So we're
pull up
both
behind you and they're
Okay.
almost always
Yep.
not very happy that you're making a turn right there.
Yeah.
If they can just slow down. I think there's always gonna be a lot of people on Elm. It's just part of life for Webster. It's the speed.
They need to go the speed limit.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they are just maybe not be able to race because there's somebody. in
It's
front
a
of them.
game to get up, like when I come home that way now, but getting from Kirkham up to Elm, people race to get in front of each other.
Well, and I think we're talking about people walking and the kids walk down from
Yes.
Hickson.
Yeah.
A lot of kids walk down from Hickson and they want to get home. Most of them hit my driveway and they run across Elm.
Yeah.
As fast as they can and try to get in that center median and then they walk down that center median, that concrete. Because there really isn't a friendly place.
No.
Because these people are coming fast going south and these people are fast going north. So now the kids, even when they get to that corner, there's really, I won't go that way. When I walk, I won't go that way because I know everybody's moving too fast.
And you're on you're talking about the west side of the street?
Well, really, they'll run across the street, go over to the side without the sidewalk. And they'll
Really?
walk in the dirt and try to get
Mhm.
that way, or they'll walk to the middle concrete
Mhm.
median. And they'll walk down the middle median. I mean, there's no, it's too scary because our people are going so.
Now, this is kind of going back to our discussion about complete streets. That what I love the idea of having the 3 lanes, but maybe we need something just a bit more than that, like carving out a pedestrian part of that street. So that kids don't have to do that.
I mean, I'm not saying they're doing the right thing. They're
Uh-huh.
just doing it because they know when they get to the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
People are going fast there too.
Well, and if we're taking 48 feet of traffic lanes right now and condensing it to 36, that leaves us 12 feet to work with.
Exactly. That's what
So
I'm thinking.
maybe a pedestrian sidewalk gets striped in or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm.
You're gonna say something, Captain Perks?
Yes, Carrie, actually, thank you for that, because I was just thinking about listening to all of this. If we're going to go to the complete streets, the complete Webster, the safety thing, and we're looking at that section of Elm, it maybe not be about limiting vehicular traffic on 2 lanes of traffic, but offering our pedestrians or cyclists a safer avenue and there is no sidewalks down there. There is no sidewalks down on both sides of the street. There is no place for cycling
One
traffic
side.
to go.
Yeah,
On the one side.
there is east side.
Correct,
sidewalk.
on one side, but not on
Yeah.
both. And so when
Right.
you're talking about kids who need to go to the other side,
Yeah.
there isn't a safe. So something for you all to think about is that when you make your recommendations and you come in this, let's look at the width of the street. Let's look at the vehicular traffic. Let's look at pedestrian traffic. How do we do it as a totality for all? And
Amen, brother.
if we just add in maybe a bicycling lane and or sidewalks for our pedestrians to walk on could be the answer.
Mhm.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you.
Do we need to say any more about this?
I'll come back, next meeting, I'll have a proposal. And I think all the proposal is just we're wording it so that we can send it up the chain,
Yep.
right? Right,
Yep.
okay.
Is it something that I mean, I've seen, and I think, I don't know if this film or another one talked about. Instead of drawing it up on paper and changing everything, are there temporary things you can do to test it to see if it really works?
Yes. there
And is
are.
that something in this would make sense, or does this make more sense of just coming up with a plan?
I think it's probably makes more sense to come in with a plan. It's really easy to do test sites and trail, and that's great for that, but I think this is such a long segment. You're talking about putting like
Right.
temporary
Yeah.
bollards or something down
Lots of
like
stuff.
each
Yeah.
side of pavement and striping and
Yeah.
I mean, I think the data is there
Yeah.
that justifies that they can make a change here. It's just
Okay, good.
the city picking up and run, being willing to run with that.
And I think Captain Perkso is making your job bigger. He's asking us, even at this point, to be thinking about complete streets.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
These
okay.
streets-
well, you were working on though. Yeah. And I think we'll need to talk about what you bring.
So a big problem that I'm aware of in every city, including Webster, I live on a street that got a sidewalk and it took 10 years to get a sidewalk put on that
Yeah.
street. And part of it is that right of way and the cost of construction. So I think what we're dealing with here is if we can take that lane and the data shows that we can, then we can reuse that space and we're not looking at right of way and we're not looking at construction.
Right.
And it might be something we can make happen sooner than relying on a 10-year plan for a sidewalk.
And if enough people like the change, it's gonna help us with the whole, developing the whole complete streets concept. Look what they did at North Elm, how much better that is.
For Big Bend, I don't know how many people live on Big Bend, but when they took that from 4 to 3, there was a lot of
Yeah.
complaints.
It would,
And it's
and
so
now
much
it's-
nicer now.
it is.
So much, people
So,
don't speed.
Don't
and
look
all.
for a lot of support of this after it happens, but I think
Give it a little
6
side.
months
Yeah,
down the road,
exactly.
people will say, do you remember
Mm.
that speedway we used to have down the hill?
To work, he works at SLU and he goes, Mom, you're gonna slow me down here. I'm like, that's the point. Give yourself 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
That's all you need to get from one end to Elm to the other. I go
Right.
instead of, and by the way, when you race up to the light, you end up
Save it
behind the
10
guy that was going
seconds.
slow anyway. I'm like, I don't even understand, but that's why people like family, but I'm like, it's just too fast.
Yeah.
But it from an aesthetic standpoint too,
Yeah,
you've got one of the older parts of Webster. And you've got basically
Yeah.
6 lanes of concrete.
Yeah.
Spread across. that.
Right.
It'd be
Oh, yeah,
nice to
very
do
nice.
something else different with it that has a traffic calming effect.
And our
Yeah.
recommendation could be, this could be a phase plan, like we start with striping.
Yes.
And then.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
then we
can
do something.
implement
more
some- maybe some landscaping or something,
Yeah.
depending on what the city might have an appetite for, be able to get funding for, whatever.
Great conversation. Thank you all.
And I wanted to ask one last thing about that. So we're kind of testing out how we get things done and where we throw things into whom. And I heard really good support when you guys were at the city council meeting. I thought David Franklin's remark was awesome about how the architectural committee gets to make all these ridiculous, very detailed recommendations about what everyone has to do with their houses. So I'm wondering if we anchor by throwing out the most amazing version of this plan and call it phasing or something, but do we throw out something as amazing as a roundabout down there?
The city has no control over that, although I guess that could be something we throw out that the city then pushes for. If we can get
Because
the city to
county-
push for
As,
that.
as a
That's
phase,
the county owns that intersection or maintains it. So-
Okay,
But if the city wanted to engage with the county.
Yeah.
That could be something that we definitely encourage them to do.
okay. Cause I wanna think big just based on the green light I heard you guys getting at the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay,
I would like that. Actually, it's wise to offer a variety of solutions. and
Right.
Here's the simple solution, and here, it could be even better if we did this.
yeah,
And wow, what if we did this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Okay.
We test the waters to see how
yeah.
anxious people are to make, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
See what we
exactly.
get back.
Your property value is gonna get way up.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna-
Not that house, so it doesn't make any difference to me about the property values. I'm just trying to make it not crazy.
Yes.
Not
That's
crazy.
fine.
That's my goal. It's just.
You know what's cool though is the planning that's underneath 44 on Elm. Yeah, they did a wonderful job.
Yeah,
of
that
making
looks
just
pretty.
not a cave going
Yeah.
under the overpass.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, I'm hoping can be accomplished
Mhm,
with South Elm as well, or North Elm.
Isn't that being replaced next year?
Oh,
It's in
the,
the books.
the interchange, yeah,
It won't look like
It won't look like
that.
well, it's not being replaced for a couple years, but that is so, that's a cooperation of the city working with MoDOT and coming to an agreement on who would do what and who would pay for it. So I don't see why that
I'm assuming, I'm hoping they'll turn around and try to put the same thing.
Make
in
it better.
place. Yeah.
better.
Even better.
Are we still circling back to continue discussion of traffic
Well,
calming?
right now, I'm on the first bullet.
Okay,
We just finished the first bullet. The
Okay,
next bullet is Steve's draft proposal. Did you all get copies
yes,
of that?
we've
Is
got
it my
it
new
here.
copy?
Any discussion?
This guy?
Yeah, that's it.
So,
But I-
and I think this started maybe before that. Discussion.
Thank you all.
I remember this way back when.
Yeah.
We were first here and you were explaining.
Parking's awful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So in July, we had a sort of a subcommittee meeting and
Right.
then it kind of got tabled a little bit. And so.
Well, it kind of got wound into a bigger picture
Yeah,
and the little problem never got resolved. And I appreciate that you brought that back to our
Yeah.
attention.
yeah. So Chris and I met after the last meeting and I said, hey, I can write something up and then go from there. So that's what this is. So my suggestion would be looking at it in two parts. The first page is sort of one part. I don't know what we call it, if it's just a reason for doing it. And comments, criticisms, too strong, too weak, things you like, what you didn't like. Maybe stand out for you. I mean, I made some assumptions and what I put in writing here. What our views of the present situation is. You know, I think we kind of had some consensus about something that should be done. We talked about what it's based on, safety. And we talked about some principles of how to meet different people's needs. Other thoughts or questions on the first page?
I have to admit, didn't do my homework, because I
Okay.
think we only got this
Yeah, maybe.
today, sorry.
Oh,
The other thought, only thought, I like the first page, would be something along to add it, I like your list, actually unsatisfactory, unsafe and unfair.
Okay,
But add like a disorganized or haphazard or something
yeah,
that indicates how it's just. That's why it's unfair,
Mhm.
because it's
how about inconsistent?
inconsistent,
Yeah.
that's great.
perfect.
And this is meant to establish our approach to every type of parking problem that's brought
Yes.
before us.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
We have that sort of now for stop signs and things like that.
And what led to all this, I learned, I didn't know this, that many years ago, each block close to the high school would come to the council and say,
petition.
here's what I want
Yeah,
for our block. Okay, you got it. Now another block, and now another block. And if you go down and you look at each one of those signs, they're all worded differently.
They're all worded, and they all have different
Yeah.
ordinances, yeah. they're
Oh
all
my
different.
So they're all, and so the idea here is, let's stop the craziness.
Yeah.
And let's make one solution.
right,
That fits
that's
for
fair
everybody.
for everybody.
Yeah, and
So one of the concerns in the last time we talked about this was all of those ordinances. And, you know, so by no means is my list of ones that would stay in place complete, but that would take further verification. But I think those that are meant to just restrict parking in residential areas due to nearby institutions, I think those things could all be withdrawn at the same time if we have
Yes.
something put into place, you know, and it seems to me that could be stated clearly.
Can that happen, David? Maybe this is a question for
Yeah.
David. If there's a series of ordinance, do they have to be repealed one at a time?
No, they can be repealed in unison or conjunctively,
Okay, good.
but there should be something to replace it with if it's needed. if
yeah,
that's-
So, okay, so let's go ahead and turn to implementation. And it's a little more complicated, but I wanted, you know, I mean, I think we're part of the place where we got hung up last time was, well, what would it look like? What would we do? You know, we're talking about different things that just seemed we had a lot of roadblocks. So here's one set of ideas for implementation and it's interesting as I thought about it, I made up this phrase residential volume, and maybe density is what it should be, Carrie. I don't know if there's another way to look at that. I think about trying to you know, so this started back in 2002 when the city started closing down all the streets except to residents, it's because they want to be able to park around the streets. So how do we recognize that need? And yet likewise, how do we recognize the need of like the students that were here last year that says, hey, you can't keep pushing us further and further away, and we don't want to do that. So it's like looking for a compromise on that. And the suggestion based on Carrie's measurements of street width and your recommendations for parking on one side, both sides, depending on street width, is where this comes from.
Right.
So, thoughts, ideas on
So, just my thought.
Yeah.
I love that you got this on one page. That's
Mhm.
powerful. But what scares me, this is gonna end up going to the city council, and the city council members are gonna be trying to ferret this out and understand.
Yeah.
I don't know how to make that better. I just know that people will take a look at this and have a kind of a negative reaction to have all these words. If we could have simple bullets on one sheet and then maybe a drawing or something on the other, this is, I'm a visual learner, so it's easier for me to look at a diagram.
Yeah.
Rather than lots and lots of words.
Yeah.
I don't mean that as a criticism.
No,
I'm just,
no, it's not, suggestions, yeah. So I do get that. I mean, you could have the diagram on different width streets and.
yeah,
And how.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, this is awesome, but as a person who also writes
Visual.
I write all the words.
Okay.
But I think this would be more people friendly if it was bullet pointed and broken up a little bit as well.
The first time I went through this, I was numb by the time I got to the end. I had to think again.
We could break it up into separate, like, we
Yeah.
have a safety, and that's like the street width.
Yeah,
And then we have a
Yes.
residential
fairness.
or park, like a residential need, because not every street's gonna have residents who want to have on-street parking for their street.
Right.
And so, so there's almost like, you're typically like a safety criteria and a residential need or something criteria. I don't know if I think those are the two main ones that we kind of look at. My concern too, I love the idea that we might be able to go in and say, hey, we're gonna sunset all of these.
Yes,
And try to, maybe we approach it from the standpoint of, we want to sunset them because we want to make everything a little more,
equitable.
or
Consistent.
consistent,
Yeah.
yeah, so that, we don't
Yeah.
have 6 different versions of no parking on 3 streets.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why we do it. My concern is, we don't have the manpower to go in and review every single street. You know what I mean?
Right,
So I almost would want to say, is it possible that we sunset them and then say, come with a proposal street, if you want a new no parking restriction? And I don't even know, somebody who's just a voice here tonight can tell me if we can't do that. I don't know that we can sunset them all and say they're not,
To sunset.
just like end it. Oh, we're giving you warning that it's going
Okay.
away.
Get
It's
back,
a quieter way of saying canceling.
Okay.
doesn't that get back into the same problem 10 years from now, when the neighbors change and this changes and these neighbors,
Yeah.
aren't we trying to make it more of a consistent?
That's what I mean.
policy?
That's when they come to us and they say, hey, we want parking, and we can say, these are our new. We will consider parking if you meet these criteria, because I would hazard a guess that 50-80% of these streets don't meet a safety or a residential density need. And we can be like, no, they're like, our new policy says,
no,
no,
you would make the bar,
right.
yeah.
Well, I think it is a finite number of streets so that have resident only parking now. So that doesn't seem overly burdened to look
Okay.
at. I mean, it's less than 10.
But what about the ones that don't have residential parking?
Well, then those are the ones that.
Yeah, then they would have to come forward.
Then they'll, and then.
Okay,
Yeah,
is that
exactly.
targeted?
Yeah, it's like on 2 stages of this. Yeah.
Okay,
One was for us to assess where to apply this first.
okay,
And then to let that happen and then see what the results are.
okay.
Um,
Sorry, I think
It's
I
okay.
thought
Yeah,
that.
no, it's okay.
The great
I
part
think I
about,
missed that.
the great part about this to me is that the ones we know are a problem, we can address immediately.
Yeah, I think so.
When,
too.
when people come forward, it's a very quick. We don't
Yes.
have to debate it and go, round and around and around.
Yeah.
It's cut and dry.
We can almost very politely say, don't bring a request unless you meet these criteria, you know, although I think we should have the door for somebody to say,
Oh,
I have something outside your criteria that
Yeah.
is a special consideration.
we have 3 dogs and that's, you know.
Yeah. We have 3 dogs and they need the whole street.
Now,
We're gonna
now,
get that.
Kids play street hockey 20 hours a day.
one of the things I'm aware of in this is that, and it was Chris's concern, was that residents will always be able to park on any spots that have allowed parking. I don't think we can get away from that. I mean, I think that that's, so if I'm a resident and I'm in that, and they live on that place where students could park. And I've got my car out there overnight and that it's there, you know, and I don't think we can fight that. I mean, I think.
I don't think we should.
No, I don't think we
mean,
should.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that should be a satisfier.
It's almost unenforceable. That's the problem. I
Yeah.
mean, the cost of enforcement would be crazy.
Yeah. Well, for residents and keeping them in certain areas. Yeah, right. I do, so what exists now are stickers that go in the windows of the cars for the residents, you know, so they, you know, so it's, for people without stickers parked in resident areas, I mean, that part's enforced, but not keeping residents out of other spots. Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Which I think, I
Okay.
mean, you do have, and that's what all this is based on. If it's your street and your house is there, you have the first right of refusal for that parking.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's just what it is.
So Steve, are you
Yeah, I'm
willing
willing
and
to, yeah,
making those drafts?
yeah, yeah,
Great, it really is.
okay. Clark, do you do you have thoughts? You were kind of quiet on any word
No.
or, okay.
No, I'm good.
I made some, oh, sorry.
Real quick, this is the kind of thing, if you did put it in a Google Doc and shared it with us, I guess we'd have to have it linked, but then we could see it before and give you comments in it. That may be too high tech or more than we
I don't
need.
think there's a problem with that. I
don't
think
think
that
so.
it's,
No, you just need to make sure that anything you do, you carbon copy, Katie Nakazano, so that it's.
there we go.
Yeah,
That's good to know.
Perfect.
because we can make it restricted only to, we can comment, only you can edit. It's really easy.
Yeah, because I made some comments in the version that was sent.
Yes, okay.
But I'm gonna go back and change some of them now that I learned what I didn't know. But I could
Yeah.
either send you that, or we could, if we had a shared copy, I could go in and do stuff.
So when we get to Google Docs, I mean, I'm gonna need some education on how. if I'm the
We have
one
a trainer.
So am I. That's why.
I think we have a trainer right over here.
Every school I've been at, I've been like, we're doing this, we're using this, here's how it works. Yeah.
Could we maybe schedule a training session with you? for-
I'm on Christmas break
Not-
starting.
This would not be a meeting.
It is if there's more than 4 of you together.
Well,
I don't need to be there, I know.
but
Google Doc.
the topic,
Doesn't matter.
let me finish. The topic is not traffic advisory commission. Traffic is adult learning. No, I'm serious. We just want to know how it works.
I think that could be a very, very.
We got the city attorney out here, so I asked him.
That would be a gray area. The purpose of the sunshine law is you're not supposed to try to skirt around what the
No,
law is.
I don't think we're trying to. I think we're trying to educate ourselves so that we can use the tool.
Just on a
We want to use the tool for
Yeah.
this.
That's all it is, really.
But we need to learn. the
Google
tool.
documents about candy canes and then later we switch them and then we share them to being about traffic.
But I think it has, if we're gathering, it has to be announced to the public. If you have-
We're not having minutes, we're not having a meeting agenda, we're just attending
Getting
a
some training.
training class.
I feel like if you were legitimately like doing.
Google
about
Docs
candy
training.
canes And whatever, and it was
Yeah.
not, then it might not be an issue, but if at any point you're.
As soon as you want to
putting
copy
advertisements
paste.
In there, it will be. an issue.
Could it be
I
our
agree.
the committee's social happy, like
There you go.
holiday party?
Holiday party.
Holiday
It sounds like
party.
a horrible-
Candy canes.
But that's what it could be. I mean, it's like,
The more egg you have, the more sense. Yeah.
Google Docs.
Awesome.
But yeah, I can, after this Friday, I'm off school for 2 weeks and then I can actually do
I
things.
think we
Yeah.
could do that sometime. Okay.
It wouldn't take very long to show you the ropes.
Range party.
Candy cane party.
Game party.
The.
That's that.
Hey, Neil. Neil. Can we ask you a quick question? I know you were trying to escape and we had a question about us gathering.
Yeah.
For a training session on Google Docs.
Yeah.
is that something that's allowable as a commission?
It is.
Thank you.
But do we have to sunshine it?
You should.
Okay.
And again, all you do is post it, just say we're gonna meet and do blah, blah, blah for the purpose of training and training only. It requires nothing more. Steve, how are you?
It doesn't have to be a Zoom or anything for people who can listen in.
No, not in my opinion, because it's training. So I mean, arguably, if you went to training, you might have to pay for it, right? The public doesn't get to come in for free when everybody else has to pay for it. You get paid too.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So, you know, but you post it and say this is training and training only and, you know, blah, blah. blah.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so-
Thanks, Neil.
I hope I didn't cost the city more money.
You did, I just chose.
Okay.
Hey, he's charging us for that half an hour.
That's right.
It's coming from our traffic advisory budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Getting out
awesome.
of your training budget.
Yeah.
Thank you, Clark, for
Yeah.
catching them.
Thank you all for the input. I appreciate it.
Okay, now there were a couple of things that were tabled at the last meeting. I think what happened was we ran out of time. I had to leave early and so one of them was the installation of parking signs on South Park and Lilac. And I think that was something maybe that Captain Perks was going to investigate.
We discussed that one. That one was the one.
That there was enough distance.
They
Yeah.
determined there was enough site distance and that there was enough distance.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so that was resolved?
I think that was resolved.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah, Captain Brooks
It should be-
had some action steps with it, or?
yeah, there were.
I don't know. Is it
In fact, he said something about, in the notes, something about, I'll make it happen.
Yeah,
He was gonna make a sign
yes,
somewhere within the up to the 10 million or whatever. but-
yeah.
To be sure, there's, yeah, you can see, yeah, okay. So that one is taken care of, I think, I guess.
We could.
Captain Perks.
He's still there.
Let's see.
Keep in mind, he has had surgery and.
Yeah.
And I'm on.
Oh,
Sorry about that.
poor guy.
There was a statement in the minutes about the intersection of South Park and Lilac. And you had made a comment that you would make sure the sign got installed or something like that.
So no parking here to corner one.
And I think you
No
had to-
parking, South Corner, Lilac, and yes, I'm trying to remember it, but yes.
So here is my question. I flagged this for a reason, and the reason I flagged it was
Yes, I know what you're talking about now. Yes, it just came to me. Sorry.
when we vote on something and we agree we're gonna do it. And then it goes from you to the
City Works.
City Works, the works, yeah.
Public Works.
How do we know?
Correct.
How do we know that that ultimately is done? What's kind of like the final action to confirm that?
Well,
Because, I mean-
honestly, Chris, that's a good question because there hasn't been a final thing in place.
The loop
So I-
never gets closed.
Right.
How do we know it doesn't?
So
fall
I would
Yeah.
say that on that one particular, I need to follow up to make sure that Public Works put that no parking here, because I remember the corner, it was a limited sight distance and
Right.
that's where we came up with, yes. And to make sure that that was put in place, because certain of these things that we talk about here, we don't need to discuss it. There's an ordinance already in place and we just need to implement that ordinance for that particular intersection, right?
Right.
This is that one in case. We didn't need an ordinance. We didn't need Traffic Advisory Commission to come in and say something different. But I don't have a follow-up for you, Chris. I'm gonna agree with you on that. I don't know.
Okay,
We'll check back on it.
so well, I guess we'll have
Describe the
to
area,
call them and
things
ask them or something.
So you know what? I'll make a note of that and I will follow up with Public Works to make sure that that was put in place and that what you recommended, what we recommended got implemented. And we'll go from there.
Great. Thank you, sir. I hate to
No,
put
you
that
bet.
on you. It doesn't seem fair to put that on your shoulders.
No, it's totally fine. It's great. That's what I'm here for. I'm the liaison. That's what I do. I make sure everything we follow up with, on what you all agree with and what needs to go to council or what needs to go to Public Works happens, and I'll do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
They should do that automatically for you.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Next one, I think we talked, the next one regarding the site distance on South Rock Hill Road in Dobbin. That's where the neighbors wanted to, they felt they couldn't safely pull onto
Yeah.
Rock Hill Road.
Well, and I don't know how many neighbors it was, because we had one request.
One request,
And I don't know that anybody ever followed up with any neighbors. I don't know how much that matters. I'm just
I don't think they did.
throwing it out there. Yeah.
But I think again, Captain Perks was going
No, we
to,
had some.
Now, his recommendation was that we don't make a change.
Right.
oh, okay.
If there wasn't enough volume.
And I, Chris, you were gonna talk to them.
Actually, I was, and I
Right.
never got to it. So that's on me.
Because Ron was the one that brought that.
Right.
in, and
Right. But then there was something
What'd
in
they
the
say?
notes about sight distances.
About looking into site.
That was the
distances.
issue that, and I didn't
Oh.
know what the result was on that.
We do need like an action step shared list.
Exactly, that we're gonna do.
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
That's just way better. Okay,
So hey, Chris, can I share on that one?
yes,
Yeah,
please.
please.
Let me turn my video there. There we go. So my Public Works did a study on that. And they did a study on the sight distance of South Rock Hill coming into Dobbin. And they did cite that there is a homeowner there with some bushes, right, that would obstruct view.
Okay,
But however, they did say that they go, all you have to do is pull forward 2 or 3 feet into the sight line. And with the parking restrictions that were there on South Rock Hill coming to it, that there is not a site restriction. So it didn't justify the need for any kind of regulatory sign or anything going forward from there on that, because any driver that could pull forward and see, they would be able to see clear of the line of sight and not have an issue.
fair enough. Okay,
Yes.
all right, that one we're gonna check off.
Right.
Okay. All right, that's checked. Okay, the next one was continued discussion about traffic calming and the complete streets, and you're gonna, Carrie, you're gonna put together a draft on that, or no?
I don't think so. I
Oh,
think
okay, that's something
that
else.
was- Yeah. That was,
You know, my recommendation is that the Sustainability Commission, subcommission and their subcommittee and their subcommittee get together.
And take that on.
Yeah, because they're very involved in it too. They were at the film, they were heavily
Oh.
represented there. So it's an issue that I think affects both commissions and both have some interest in.
Well, I think that's great.
So I really think that the
We want to
recommendation.
get as many players involved in
Yeah.
this as we can,
Right.
because it'll help us sell it.
And I know we sort of hit some emails back and forth about
Yeah.
whether something we can do or whether we go to an outside, like a TrailNet or somebody else to help draft that.
Right,
If you look at Clayton's, I think I sent a link of Clayton's Complete Streets Policy. It's about 160 pages.
I figured,
It's above our
Yeah.
pay grade,
way over,
I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
But TrailNet helped compile that. So,
Okay,
I mean, I'm without
so
knowing 100%, I'm sort of advocating that that the city would put an RFP out
right,
to get somebody
to build it.
to build it,
What's an RF?
or a
Request for
request
proposal.
for a
Okay.
proposal.
I like that idea. I have to admit to you, I love the idea of taking advantage of TrailNet because they got the staff and they got the funding and,
Well, they did our plan in 2014, which they admit needs to be updated because things have changed in 8 years
okay.
along those lines.
So let me back up. You said, what, a plan for what?
So- So it's not a complete streets policy, but it's on if you go onto the city, I sent you the link too on that one.
Okay,
It's on the city website. It's the street, it's why we have the bike lanes now on Lockwood and why we do on.
Okay.
But they did more of a sort of
a vision,
a vision of where Webster could go.
okay.
So that needs to be updated, but the complete streets policy is something they could do as well. And there's other people that could help do that as well.
Well, I want to be really cautious that we don't commit the city to something.
No, yeah, we're not.
Um,
The city would have to.
They would have to request
fund it and request it, absolutely. So I'm thinking that the Sustainability Commission and the Traffic Advisory, the sub, come together and make that recommendation to the city council, this is what we envision, and they would have to approve it.
Would you feel comfortable kind of taking the lead on that? I'm all about this. But
Yeah.
somebody needs to.
No, absolutely.
To marshal the troops and, you know.
And I think there's, weren't there the
Us and
three of us
Jamie.
and Jamie,
From Jamie.
right? So we need to meet with her first.
I just,
Dan, are you,
I just realized, yeah.
you're interested in doing this
I
too?
think I'm on the joint committee
Oh,
already,
okay.
yeah. But I just realized I've got a November 17 email from you that I overlooked. But you have the link to the Clayton,
Yep, the Clayton
Policy
Complete Street
and-
policy as well as the Webster plan.
yeah, we should get a meeting on the calendar with Jamie.
So I'll be happy to try to set that up.
Yeah, that
I-
sounds good.
What?
Yeah, I thought, I thought heard was Jamie was gonna try to set one up, but I haven't heard anything from her, so.
Yeah,
But the problem is that as a group, we do great at discussing and making decisions, but we're not great at drafting things.
Right.
That's a big job.
yeah.
But when is it, are we
Oh,
thinking
no,
that
I know. I'm talking about 160-page
No,
draft.
no,
what would come out of that is something that our commission and their commission would vote on, that we would present to the city
Together.
council?
yeah,
Yeah,
Of how we would get from here
to
to
there.
there,
Yeah, I like.
not there, but the process, right?
Yeah, right. I figured at some point, we would wind up breaking this complete streets thing down into pieces. And then we would evaluate those pieces and decide, this definitely is for Webster Groves. Yeah, this is a winner. This could work. This doesn't really work. for
Exactly.
Webster Groves.
And that's why I think looking at
Yes,
Kirkwood, looking at Clayton's, looking at some of these, what theirs are, they're not all the same.
Right.
And what is good for Clayton might not,
Yeah.
everything might not be good for us, but
And-
I think what it would really help with is like when a situation. Like North Elm comes up, that we have sort of a guideline, a policy in
Yeah.
place for that.
Yeah.
And it's not something that happens all at once.
right.
This is
Oh,
like,
no,
when Elm gets resurfaced, maybe that's when you're looking at, hey, are we meeting all of our, what we want to do for a street like this?
right.
So like,
Definitely, if they're gonna do a big project like they talked about down here, near,
SGC
yeah,
for the-
Kirkham, thank you. That would be an example of, we are definitely gonna implement that. If you're gonna do this project, you're gonna have to do it with complete streets.
right,
But it's the
Mhm.
one-off neighborhoods that wanna
Yeah.
do it. That's where it becomes kind of iffy. One of the things that bothers me about these things is that I don't wanna have a community where we have this fabulous system for complete streets, and it's here,
yeah,
and it's there,
yeah,
and it's there. As a visitor, you drive through Webster Groves, and you go,
but in reality. You can't do it all.
I know.
So you do it. You
Where you
have to
can.
do it over time. right?
well, you have to do it where there's high volume and where there's danger,
And where there's money.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we've got that 1,500 right to use with sustainability. Right, that's been mentioned a couple times and I don't know where it is or when we get it. And for what, but
News to me. I guess I
yeah.
haven't heard this.
It was, I saw it in the paper. That's
Oh.
how I saw it.
I think Jamie said something about it that one time she came to a meeting a couple of months ago
I
too.
think, oh, I think I said it.
Maybe you told us.
I saw it, I think it was in the paper.
Yeah.
So,
Or on a Friday, on like that Friday newsletter that they send out. It was one of
Yeah.
Those places, I was like, oh, news to me.
Yeah,
in terms of this, what did we call it? Where we're gonna Google Docs.
action steps,
Action
yeah, in the
steps.
Google Docs, yeah.
What do I say? That the two of you will work with sustainability? Oh, the three of you? Okay,
Clark to set up a meeting with sustainability, Jamie at sustainability to discuss, we have to say what we're gonna discuss.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
well, to come up with our plan. for
Yes,
how
yeah,
we
complete streets and,
would possibly get to a proposal to city council of our recommendation.
and Ann, you're participating, and Carrie, you're gonna,
yeah.
I mean, I don't wanna hold you responsible for something that,
No, I'm just part of that subcommittee is.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we all agreed to be on it.
And I think it's really what are we doing that's sort of similar, so we're not.
Right.
working In a vacuum.
And the places that overlap,
Mhm.
Complete Streets is one of them.
Mhm.
Well, I just think it's such a neat thing, and especially when we have the city leadership kind of leading in our direction, this would be the time to
Yeah,
Right.
make it happen.
and I was thinking with them, I don't know how much money it costs to get people to draft us a plan or.
More than 1,500.
Oh, does it?
But they have, there's money that.
Teacher, people just do stuff for each other, I don't know.
There's money that city, more than that, the city has
Yeah,
allocated to these commissions.
right.
And I don't know what it's for, but this might fall in that bucket, so.
And then I had a couple, I don't know when we're on the right bullet point for it, but I have a couple, I think, quick questions.
Well, okay, the last bullet was the one that we talked about earlier about the parking. So
Yeah,
I think we are through the old business piece, so go ahead.
Okay, so I have a couple quick questions, so, and I'll try to make them all make sense. So with the crash data for South Elm, one of the reasons I was wanting crash data between Swan and I guess Lockwood or Cedar is because this is missing 3 to 4 crashes in the summer of July and August of 2019 that must have been just beyond the criteria of what the intersection is.
Oh,
So just north of
so it
Swan.
didn't get into the data.
So there are more crashes that are, that are on that stretch that I think, I don't know if that's evidence I need to push us to be aware of in order to make these changes, but I just wanted it to be known that there are more, so.
So, and my question would be, where are you getting your data from and what 3 to 4 crashes?
So these are ones that I witnessed when there was, in the summer of 2019, there was like some Amarin or Laclede or somebody was doing work and there were crashes heading north, going downhill in front of my house. So I noticed them. But so I think they didn't meet the criteria of being at the intersection. But again, if this is public access data, I could go look that up, I suppose, right? And not have your guys have to do it?
No, so my question would be is what is the purpose of your questioning of the data? And then if you're asking for 3 to 4, so based off of the data that we gave you on the intersection of Elm and Swan, and there have been, I don't know, I remember 8 crashes in 5 years. And
Yeah,
if you want to add 3 crashes to that, you now have 11 crashes in 5-year period based off of, I'm questioning what is your purpose for gathering of the data and why should we dig into that to give you this data for what? Because 11 crashes in a 5-year period on a roadway will never give you the significant that this is a dangerous roadway, this is something needs to change, etc.
yeah,
So,
so I
so
think,
that's my question.
so the data that you gave, I'm not questioning. Like, it looks like science, right? It looks real. But I'm saying, so what must be missing from it must have been beyond what is the criteria for that intersection.
So
Just
we,
because-
okay, so when we do a crash data analysis of an intersection, we go out exponentially so many feet beyond that intersection to say 100 block or et cetera of where do we gather that data from? So even so, your data, you want to add 3 crashes to the data over a 5-year period, making it 11 crashes that would have occurred within that intersection of exponentially 100 block or a 200 block of data on that. My question is, what are you trying to gather of that? Elm has had 5 to 8 crashes in a 5-year period.
Well, is that an intersection or an Elm segment? I mean,
So
are
it
we-
must be an Elm segment,
That-
and that's why I
that-
didn't make it.
That's what I'm saying. It's as a segment. So you asked specifically for the intersection before, and we gave you that data, which was 5. But then you go out and you want to say that there are 3 extra. Okay, so there are 8 crashes within within 100 block of that entire intersection of 100, 200 block, right? So going the 100 or 200 block brings you all the way up almost to Lockwood and almost all the way down to Big Bend. So we have had 8 crashes within that intersection in a 5-year period.
Right,
Again, my question is, what data there shows that there is a significant like an emergency thing for some kind of traffic implementation to change the speed limit, the traffic lanes, the whatever in that in that stretch of Elm in a 5-year period when we've had 8 crashes.
Well, it's 9 crashes.
Okay, 9. Okay, 9.
Well, but my point, I don't know, I mean, my question might be the same as yours that you're asking. So I'm wondering, is that evidence that I need to provide to anyone to get us to keep moving towards positive implementation of complete streets? But I also think that, like I feel like we're trying to move forward, and if we're doing vision 0 for traffic accidents, then we need to be looking at everything, every crash. Like, I'm wondering how that compares to Gore, which is very wide. And I'm just thinking that we need to, if we're really moving forward thinking, right, if we're really being progressive, then that's too many. That's too many crashes, that's too much danger. And we should, I'm just thinking when we're considering South Elm, that would be relevant potentially.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I will counter that with in the email I sent to everybody, that of those 5 or 6, not minus the 9 that you're saying, all of them were of the result of inattention, inclement weather, etc., which that doesn't mean there's a problem with the roadway. There doesn't mean there's a problem with the signage. There's not a problem with the speed. There's not a problem with, there's a problem with drivers driving inattentively. There's a problem with drivers driving too fast for conditions, i.e. snow, weather, rain, whatever, etc. So my question again to you goes, when we have 8 or 9 in a 5-year period, how does that question to what you're pushing towards the Traffic Advisory Commission to look at as a problem in a driving on a roadway for a driving condition? I'm not seeing it. The police department will never enforce that. We will not enforce that. You have had 8 or 9 accidents in a 5-year period based off of inattention, conditions, etc. That doesn't constitute that we have a problem in speed, any other regulation that we have on that roadway.
What does the city consider to be the benchmark for a high crash location?
I don't have that answer for you, but I will get that for you. I will get that for you.
And I mean, the whole point of Vision 0 is that they consider every crash to be preventable. If it is inattention, then the whole idea is to create a road that is forgiving, and that the whole idea is that people make mistakes. People will always make mistakes, and that the road itself should forgive those mistakes to keep people from being killed. So I think, yeah.
Agreed 100%. Agreed 100%. But you can never regulate inattention out of a driver.
You cannot,
And so-
but if we can
And so
slow
when you're
people down
talking
somehow.
8 auto crashes in a 5-year period, to me, that doesn't constitute an emergency. Doesn't constitute changing regulations.
It's emergency, I would say,
No.
but it, I mean, it is something, it's an area we can address.
If it's 5 crashes and they're fender benders, that's one thing. If it's 5 crashes and someone is killed or
Correct.
That's a whole different thing. So-
And Chris, I will tell you, I will back you on that. Not one of those accident was a fatal fatality. Not one of those was a serious injury accident. And so that is the things we have to weigh on these decisions.
Right.
Well, and I've got them printed out in front of me, and I can't right now see, is there speeding info on these? I don't know if I'm looking at it
There is speeding info on those streets.
on the data
Yeah.
for each of the crashes.
Oh, not the, no,
No,
not.
the only way to know
No,
is- You could say somebody was driving too fast for the condition provided, but how do you know how fast they were
That
going?
is.
Oh, well, I mean, these people were speeding, or most of them were, but. I guess my point is we need the speeding to be addressed and 25 miles per hour
And I
to
think-
be policed.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, I will talk about the speeding on that. The whole concept of reducing a speed limit beyond the 85th percentile, it is not effective in affecting traffic control. So the MUTCD sets out guidelines based off of speeding on a speed limits on a street. And they say that. And if you look at Elm, and when you look at the 85th percentile of the vehicles that are traveling on Elm Avenue, particularly in your block and the 100 block, they are traveling 30 mile an hour, which tells us that the speed limit on that street should be set at 30 mile an hour. It should not be 25. We have artificially lowered that to 25. So if you look at a speed limit being 30 mile an hour, and then you look at the rest of the data on that street, and Carrie will back this on me, crash data, fatality, injury data, et cetera, the intersection of Elm and Swan have no significant data to indicate that we should change anything in our regulatory enforcement on that street.
I didn't see the crash data. I will say that. Did it get sent out to everyone?
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
Yes, it did.
Okay, I missed it, but I will say it is true, speed limits, reducing the speed limit won't make a difference. People drive as fast. The way
They will
that
drive as fast as the road will allow
as
them
the
to
road
drive.
allows.
That's
So-
the 85th percentile.
Right, and that's where the difference, you know, what you just said was there's no reason for regulatory change. But there
So
is
if-
a potential reason for a geometric
Yes.
change,
Which will.
which
contest
will
the speed
slow
limit.
people down, yeah,
And then
But
you
I'm not
talk about
saying-
artificially changing the speed limit
right.
and
So-
Right.
reducing the speed limit to things, and then guess what that results in? People still driving the same limit that the road will
Right.
allow.
Well, and to be clear, I'm definitely not advocating for lowering the speed limit. I just want people to go the speed limit.
Right.
Um,
So
Very well.
that's something we would try to address then.
Yeah.
Through geometric striping, you know,
Yes.
something like
I
that.
think you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so my,
So I'm-
oh, I
Okay.
know we're out of time. Super quick things.
Yes.
Okay.
No, thank you.
So-
Thank you.
So if I got some suggestions and recommendations and comments from neighbors who want to be heard at the traffic safety at our meetings, how do I share those people's questions and comments at our meetings? Like, what's the appropriate?
They should come.
Yeah, they should just come.
Okay,
I would tell, they should come. I mean, really.
okay,
I mean, we have a spot in our agenda for public comments, and I
Right.
think that's. You shouldn't be burdened with collecting those
Okay.
and reporting them.
okay,
agree.
because I did tell people, I was like, if you have specific suggestions, comments, let me know. So I do have a running list of things that people have said that they want to see. So, okay.
I'm very aware that we're running
Yes.
over. I apologize. I should have said something earlier. Is there anything else we need to bring up tonight? Captain Perks,
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
do you have any new business?
I do not. Nothing has come across my table since since I sent out the agenda and the minutes from last meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Wait, Captain Perks, you didn't bang your knee tonight. At least
I did not.
that's
I'm not worried about the knee. I'm more worried about my elbow because I don't want to hurt my arm.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything new?
Next meeting.
Okay, next meeting. It's on the calendar, isn't it?
I don't know.
Do we have one?
I don't
No.
think so.
I think so.
Oh, we don't.
We're just, we're looking at December.
Oh, let's,
November, this is kind of our November, December meeting, so.
yeah, right.
New
And
year.
I'm trying to remember, it was the third Monday or the
We-
second? Monday?
We typically looked at the second and or third of a Monday, but let's look at January.
Mhm.
That one's out.
Not, okay, that one's out, okay. So the second Monday in January?
Why don't we look at December or January 10th or 17th? That would be better.
Tuesday, Tuesday, Greg.
9 or 17?
9 or 16?
16, MLK, yeah.
Oh, wait, yeah, I'm sorry, Mondays. I'm sorry. I was looking at Tuesdays. I
Oh, I
apologize.
can do either one of those, so.
Yeah.
9 or 16th would be good. Which day do you want me to look at?
16th is Martin Luther King Day with the city's closed.
We're looking at 9.
Let's look at 9.
Let's do 9.
Let's look at 9.
I will be out of town, but I will send my draft before I leave.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, I will look at 9. I will set that up in the calendar and I will do my best to make that work for all of us.
Is there any reason we couldn't begin to set these up like 3 or 4 months in advance?
Yes, Chris, because of the availability of the rooms and that. So with the other commissions and the other councils and the things that are going on, committees, I just need to be able to select the date for these things about 4 weeks, 5, 6 weeks in advance. And so to say we're going to go on this every Monday or every Tuesday of every month, I couldn't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Do them, let's get them ahead as much as we can.
Yes.
All right.
So-
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Clark. Lots of seconds.
I think somebody else. Oh.
Okay, done.
Are we adjourned?
We're
You're-
adjourned. It's a risk.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you all. No problems. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Understand about my point, residential volumes.
Yes.
Is there a proper?
I think density would be the right word. Yeah.